So there's this issue that I see in gaming, movies, nerd culture, all this stuff, right? We go from the first movie, the first game, and it's amazing. You know, we're having a great time. It's super cool, great concept. And then season 2 comes out. Then the sequel comes out, and it's like, okay, we get a little overhyped. We're excited for more of the same. And the creators, they're trying, but they can't quite recapture that magic, right? Or they go in a slightly different direction. There's more story to tell, and they're trying to tell it, but it's not what the fans want. I propose no more sequels. Self-contained stories only. Spiritual successors, maybe. What do you think?
That's a pretty bold take. That being said, I do kind of see where you're going with that. I mean, if you're fine with having a season 1 that's consists of like 48 episodes, or
I mean, if it's good, it's good,
or
right?
a game that is no longer like 10 hours, but more like 60 hours minimum. And we're not just talking about like JRPGs. We're just talking about games in general.
Games in general.
Yeah.
Now, the 48 episode thing, I think, is a problem because filler, so many filler episodes, not sticking to
The main story.
the story.
Right.
We talk about like shows, the actual good Star Wars shows like Andor. Was it 12 episodes?
It was pretty short.
And even some of those episodes felt a little fillery. We could have tightened it up.
Yeah, I would say that's probably largely due to the way that the cinematographer wants to, or at least the director wants to, like, bring attention to certain elements and really get you feeling the vibe of the show. Like it's all about, like, you know, the pacing of things,
Right.
Because sure, you can keep things constantly breakneck paced, but I don't think that would fit what Andor is. Because if
Definitely
you
not.
remember anything about Andor, it was filmed, or essentially it would have the beginning, like the setup, the midpoint, and then the climax.
The 3-episode arc.
The 3-episode arc.
Yeah.
And it was consistent. And I would say, like, if you're the kind of person who wasn't there for a slow burn, it wasn't for you. And that's fine.
Yeah.
But the climax was really good, considering, like, all the pay up and up to that point.
Oh yeah.
Definitely. What you think? Can we end this Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3? And that's not the best example because Spider-Man 2 was amazing. But guess what happened when they kept going? Spider-Man 3, ixnay the Spider-Man 3. We could have lived without it.
They know they're supposed to be making a 4.
Yeah.
Or, listen, you know, I have a bone to pick with you old heads, you boomers out there, you millennials, you Gen Xers. See, my issue
I'm not a
is
Gen Xer.
my issue is that y'all constantly ask for, oh, why can't I have anything original? Why can't I have anything new? And then when we give you that, then you complain about it. And it's like, oh, you know, they should just bring back the old. I can't stand this Tom Holland. Bring back Tobey Maguire. He's my GOAT, Tobey Maguire. And then they bring him back for a 4th movie, only for the 4th movie to be trash. And you're like, oh, they should have never done that. See, that you guys are just insufferable. I don't like you.
Listen.
home.
As if we didn't just see them try to bring back Mike Tyson to get abused by
Oh
this
my
young
goodness.
whippersnapper.
Elder abuse.
Elder abuse.
Elder abuse.
But back on topic, guys. With very few exceptions, we have movies. It's like the sequel curse. Like that term doesn't exist for no reason.
Right.
The first movie's good. It was great. Self-contained story. Studios, more money.
Yeah.
We need more money. This worked. Do it again. Joker 2. Folie à deux.
You know, I actually didn't even go bother to watch that movie.
I stayed home.
Yeah.
I stayed
I
home.
was not about to go see it.
I may have would have saw it, but then everybody was like, listen, they ruined it.
Right. Have you seen that one out of context clip of the ever so controversial Kanye West, where he says, you know, and I'm paraphrasing, what does Lady Gaga know about cinema, like movies? Because that's pretty much what this movie was about.
He said, I like Gaga.
Yeah, I like Gaga. But what does she know about cameras? What does she know about movies?
Right.
Like,
I didn't even know she was in the movie.
Stop. No.
stop
I
playing.
didn't go watch the movie.
She was
Oh
Harley
my
Quinn
gosh.
in the
Okay, so
movie.
before
Oh,
the
no.
the whole point was they wanted to have her in the movie, and they also made a musical.
Right.
Because for some reason Todd Phillips was cool with that, and he wanted to do something different.
Why?
I don't know.
Because you wanted to do something different. And
know,
you
Todd-
thought the first one was good.
Yeah, Todd, your issue is you should have stuck to the format where you just copied another movie like Baby Driver. Just do it again.
Dang.
I'm sorry.
toasted. So here's my thing, right? I mean, even with the new Star Wars, right? We're talking about episode 7, 8, 9.
Right.
7, okay, wow, this is really good. We're excited. Where's this story gonna go? 8, 8 looked good. 8 looked amazing, but story wise, they jumped off a cliff.
Yeah. 8 is very. I will say this. I think I enjoyed 8 more than 9. That being
I would
said,
say yeah. There were some moments. It had moments.
Honestly, 8 and 9 are kind of in the same category.
He said they're not canon.
Not even that. They're just in the same category. Like they're canon and there's something you can do about it. But it pretty much goes like this, and I will mark each like trilogy in a certain matter, right? The original had
4, 5, 6.
4, 5, 6, right? They had the decent best storytelling, right?
Right.
Had the best storytelling, right? It was, great acting, good
Very
storytelling.
whimsical, right? Yeah.
Right? Your effects, they were practical effects,
So not the greatest.
They pushed the limits for the time.
Exactly, right? And the music, great. The prequels had the best fight scenes.
Period. Yeah.
They were
Period.
insane.
Yep.
Right?
Music on 10.
on 10. Visual effects, and story, actors.
Politics.
So many, so much. The best politics.
The best politics. We just need like the new Star Wars trilogy, whatever comes out. Just give me like a space Trump or something like that.
Oh my gosh.
Would be the most amusing thing ever.
Put a space Obama and put a space Biden in there.
Space Obama, Space Trump, they're all secretly friends, but they talk smack to each other.
Oh yeah, but that's Star Wars like 1, 2, 3 to begin with.
Give me that like that Marvel cinematic ending cutscene. They're all playing Sabacc.
That's so goofy.
And then you have the sequel trilogy, which is like you have the best visuals, right? Your music is pretty good, right? But those are kind of like out, and your actors are fine, right?
The actors were definitely fine.
The actors
Like,
were
they
fine.
were-
They did what they were supposed to do.
Which they always get hate on, but I'm like, bro, they were following a script the best they could.
Yeah.
Right.
But your story is whatever, and they're gonna have those sequel lovers that are gonna be like, you just don't understand, like Last of Us 2 people.
Yeah.
You just don't understand. You're not.
I mean, that's
being
another one,
illiterate,
right?
Right. But literally, you have those 3 areas, and they all have strengths, but they all have like major weaknesses.
Yes.
The sequels, unfortunately, were you just didn't have a strong story, and that's because you had different directors, different
Yeah.
aspects.
Let's even go back to the original Star Wars, or Episode 4, but it was originally Star Wars. I didn't
called
even
Star
think it was
Wars.
called A New Hope
No,
at the time.
it wasn't given that until later.
So, in the original Star Wars, that was a self-contained story.
Yeah.
If it had ended there, you literally had this spunky, rebellious kid leaving his home planet and getting caught up in the war, and then defeating the largest super weapon, and then the basically
Saving the day,
most of
more
the
or
bad
less.
guys died.
Yeah.
You know,
More or less saved the day.
he saves a day, and if that was the end of the story, that would have been good. People liked it a lot, and it was just like, okay, I think we can continue, just because people are going to watch this, and I can tell you the rest of my story and my vision. Although, question: did he really have more vision because he had Luke and Leia like smooching, and like that's kind of weird when in the next movie
So,
after that they were siblings? Like,
So the thing about Lucas is that when he originally made Star Wars, it was intended to be
A one and done.
Well, not even a one and done. It was actually intended to be an entire like long story series. Like it was supposed to be 1 through 9. That was the intended purpose from
Right,
the get go.
yeah.
But the issue was he wasn't sure how he was going to secure money and funding, because when the publishers at the time, or the movie studios at the time, when they saw it, they're like, yeah, no, there's no way this is going to do well at all. So they purposely had it cut just for that first movie, just to see if it would do good. And it ended up doing good. So he's like, oh, now I can do more. But I guess the question is, would it have been fine if it was just a single movie? I think so. It probably would have. But
I think it would have been timeless.
yeah.
Was it Lost in Space? Like, it was just one movie. It did well.
Yeah.
People like it. You know, obviously it's not Star Wars. But like, you know. Now, different story, I would say, and here's my big exception. If you had a series, a video game series, a book series, or a movie series based on a book series, you can do what you want. But you can't be switching it up and saying part 1, part 2. Stop doing that. Very few exceptions.
Are you mad about Dune?
No, Dune worked, although it was annoying at the time.
Okay.
It was annoying at the time, but I think it worked because the story is so long
It is a very long story.
that really, if you try to smush it into one movie, it would have been a 4-hour movie.
I think the same thing kind of goes with The Lord of the Ring movies.
Yes.
Excluding The Hobbit. I mean, okay.
The Hobbit should have been 2 movies and call it a day.
Listen, I love the effects in The Hobbit.
Oh, it was great.
They're awesome. They're amazing.
You know, industry standard.
Yeah, but the storytelling is a little bit of...
A little wonky.
Yeah.
It's a little wonky.
And I say it was great. Some of those orcs, I really wish they would have gone back and made them practical. Because, like, now we're looking at stylized cartoons. I'm like, you go from ultra realistic practical effects in the first movies to stylized, just like animated, running at 120 frames per second looking orcs. And then in the Rings of Power show, they go back to practical
effects,
and it looks great. It looks amazing. And you're just like, guys,
What were you doing? What is this?
why do we do all that?
Yeah,
And
I mean, but hey, some CGI looks great. I mean, look at Davy Jones, for example. Still timeless. The
slaps.
Transformer movies by
Michael Bay.
directed by Michael Bay. All of them look good.
Right. Like I've never seen a Transformers movie that didn't look just amazing.
That's facts. But yeah, sequels terrible.
Yeah.
Okay. With that being
lost in the
said,
sauce.
hey, listen. I think you do have a good point that sequels can tend to muddy the water sometimes and they
Right.
can lose the vision. But I also think that in the same vein, we have very good sequels. I mean, look, we have Alien, which was a horror movie, and it switched over to a action thriller, Aliens. And guess what? Aliens is arguably better than Alien. You have Terminator. Then you got Terminator 2, arguably better, right?
I will say
Like I
this.
said, with very few exceptions,
Right.
they've been better.
I would say one of the major, at least in gaming, I will say this, and I would die on this hill. The Uncharted series, great consistent games, all 4 games. I have yet to really ever be like, I hate this particular game. I've always had a positive outlook when it comes to the Uncharted series.
Okay, yeah.
The first one, it's like, it's okay. It's the first one. It's the introduction, right?
Right.
Right? You're like, all right, cool. The second one, major improvement.
Yep.
I think the second
The
game
Yetis.
is probably it's the best. It's considered to be the best one.
Right,
The third one, still good, and the fourth one, it's like we took everything from the previous games, but made it better in this last game and
Right.
made a conclusion to it.
Right. Now, the temptation for the studios is, well, we already finished the first trilogy. Now let's make a second trilogy.
There you go.
Not
That's
just
your problem.
and they're pushing it beyond. Like they're milking everything they can. They're just milking until there's nothing left. People are not interested
They're
anymore.
being a dead horse, essentially.
And, right, and I think that was the problem with like Disney Star Wars, and really when we talk about
to a
most
degree, I can
games
see that.
where it's like it's good, but where are we going to go from here? The story was already told. Now you're butchering characters, trying to push this thought or that thought or this concept or that concept. People are having therapy sessions with the characters that you love. And it's like, we'll subvert some expectations. Now let's imagine Luke Skywalker, who's the most like the paragon of good in the universe.
The never give up guy.
The never give up guy is like, I got to give up. And giving up means I'm going to kill my nephew and let my entire school burn down. And then I'm going to go live in the woods.
I will say this. Han Solo's character in the sequels was a complete broke my heart. From the first movie till the original trilogy, the first till the end of those, right? Han was, I fight for myself to, I am a general leading these rebel troops for something that I finally believe in. And then he comes back to, I'm back to square one. I'm like, I went back to being my young self and being a scoundrel again. And I'm not really contributing to
Left
society
his family.
I was like, all that character progression just thrown out the window. Same for Luke. The only person who even remotely is kind of like, I'm still kind of doing what I got to do was Leia.
Right. And then you know what they did with that one? You know what they did with that one?
They got goofy with that. All right.
And
the only constant,
weird.
the only true constant was R2D2. All right, shout out to R2D2.
You're right.
Holding it down.
Bro didn't say a lick of English, but you just knew he had to lock in.
And here's the craziest thing, right? They had an opportunity to respectfully kill Leia in the second movie,
Yeah.
and then they Mary Poppins steer back into the ship.
Yep.
Like, what are we doing? And so I know we mostly talk about gaming here, but gaming nerd culture, and there are a few games that kind of fell off, but there are a lot that are okay. We talk about Modern Warfare, and then Modern Warfare 2, like we're taking it up in next, and then the 3. was good.
Are you
We're talking
about
about
the
classics?
The classic or the newer
We're
one?
talking about the classic.
Yeah, the classics. I will agree with you. Modern Warfare was decent. Modern Warfare 2 was
Was prime call. Modern Warfare 2 was prime call.
Yeah,
When you say you would never survive a Call of Duty game lobby, you're talking about Modern Warfare 2.
Right.
You're not talking about 3. You had the best moments on 2. Hands
3 was
down.
just
And you had some of the best characters in the campaign.
Right.
Oh yeah,
You had
absolutely.
Ramirez, right? Who everyone will be like, Ramirez will soul your verse because he just has to be ordered to do so, and then he just does it.
He just does it right.
And in that vein, it's almost like, okay, so somehow we did a great job with the sequel. So 2 was great. And then 3, we're trying to wrap up storylines. Okay, so what happened after you get stabbed at the end of 2 and all the different stuff? And, I was like, well, now we got to kill this character. Now we got to kill this character. Now this character's got to have revenge. And it just feels kind of crazy.
I think they just kind of get a wheel and they just spin about who they want to die. And they say, we'll take that.
Right, and some stuff doesn't make sense because of previous things. Like it doesn't have a good build up and payoff, and then somehow we did the same thing twice with the remake of Modern Warfare. Where Modern Warfare 1, okay, yeah, let's go. Modern Warfare 2, we're progressing. It's actually getting better. Modern Warfare 3, people are like, what is this campaign? What is the multiplayer?
Was it a campaign or was it just single player Warzone? Also, why is it that in the classic Modern Warfare 3, we killed Soap, and then in the new Modern Warfare 3, we kill Soap again?
We don't learn.
But yet Gaz is still breathing. He died in the first game, in the classics. And
Boy, big man.
I don't want to be that guy, but I feel like they were like, we're going to turn Gaz into a brother and then make him immortal. And then I said it. I don't care. But you couldn't let the Scottish guy survive? How many Scottish people do we have in gaming? Not a lot.
How many Scottish people do we have in the world? I'm sure there's
know.
many. I've not met too many, but I'm sure there's a ton.
Shout out to all the Scottish homies out there.
Shout out to the Scots.
Shout out to the Scots. You guys are cool. I don't even know what else
holding
to
it
tell you. Right? It made me so upset. So upset. I was like, oh man, he's gonna survive in this third game. He just gets domed in the head. I'm like,
But honestly, besides Price, he was the most iconic character. And we actually met the guy who does his mocap.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Ghost.
Yeah, it was. Well, he does Price and
He was
Ghost.
Price and Ghost.
When the guy who does, long story, but he does Ghost and he does Price, and it's like, man, first of all, you're a cool dude. Second of all, why would they do that to your character?
Right?
Like, people loved it. Like the meme of he's just looking at you, just like,
Oh, the ghost.
Like he just got off a 12-hour shift.
and you're telling him something stupid, and he's just like,
Oh man, I forgot my keys back. We gotta go back to.
It's like that one Popeyes employee that just got off a 12-hour shift, and this is during like the chicken sandwich hype.
oh my gosh, people die for that.
And then it's like, hey man, I need you to come back in and clock in. So and so called out at last minute. That's the look you get.
Right. And you actually got to go back. There's no, I'm not going, that kind of stuff.
I got bills to pay and I can't afford to get fired.
Oh man.
So here's the thing. Like, I looked into it and I was like, okay, what are some like notable sequels? Far Cry 1, Far Cry 2.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of good in Far Cry 2. But I know you were like, well, there's one thing about Far Cry 2 that's like, maybe it was a little shaky.
Malaria.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, I feel like anybody, and also shout out to all my malaria homies out there who got malaria and survived. Great, good on you. Malaria sucks. And having it in the game also sucked very much. You had to literally, like, take your medicine in order to, like, properly function in that game. If you didn't have it, you'd probably just die. Which, I mean, if you don't take your medicine to get when you have malaria, you'll probably just die. It was terrible. The second game.
Oh. Why would they put that in there?
I don't know.
They're trying to ratchet up tension. They're like, okay, well, what can we do differently? What cool mechanic can we add? And they don't really think will this actually be fun?
Like, you tell me, hey, we're gonna make like guns to be like very like easily breakable because you're like in the middle of like an African village, and guns are hard to come by. It's like whatever, cool. Some guns break easy, some guns don't, or they have malfunctions. I can live with that. But the malaria, I was just like, this is one of the worst gameplay functions you could ever have. Like, and now like as you look back on it, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, remember that time when you had malaria in Far Cry 2? Ha, that was funny. But now when you played it, you're like, this is terrible. I feel terrible. And they didn't bring it back in 3. And you know what? Far Cry 3 is one of the greatest games. Mind you, they had a really good antagonist, Voss, right?
Right.
But overall, like, if you had malaria in Far Cry 3, a lot of people wouldn't be playing that game. I'm sorry.
Definitely. And now, unfortunately, Far Cry has gone too far, I think. Like, Far Cry 5, decent. Far Cry 6, doing a little bit too much. And some people liked it, I'm sure.
Some people like it. It's not for everybody. I mean, honestly, I played 6. I played through the whole thing.
It's doing too much.
It's a bit much. The map is like huge, and it's kind of like at some point when you finish the game, it's like, did I beat the game?
No, you didn't. It's an Ubisoft title. You did not beat the game until you complete every little thing.
I didn't beat the game, but I kind of beat the game, and it was weird. And I was just like, what would make this game a little more interesting? Some malaria.
Dude, I almost feel like we should end it there, but I do just want to reiterate, some sequels are good. I feel like...
Halo 2.
Hey, amen. Right?
Halo 3.
Halo 3 is pretty good, too.
If there wasn't... And I think the biggest problem, right, is you look back and you hear, like, the director's commentary and, the team talk about what happened and people, after the fact, anonymous sources, like, hey, we were rushed. Like, we had 6 years to work on the first game, then they did well, and then they were like, get another one out next year.
They gave us a toothpick and a dream, and they told us make it work.
And they said, Tony Stark did this in a cave with a box of scraps.
I will say this, Mass Effect Andromeda had that problem. They were like after 3, everyone was like, "Oh, 3 is high," even though the ending was whack. Andromeda had so much problems in development hell. People getting fired, people sabotaging each other. It was a terrible time to work in BioWare if you were working on Andromeda.
At what point are they just going to pull the plug and say, like, let's try again next year?
It was a miracle to even produce that game out, and it didn't do well in the end.
I hope they learned a lesson. I hate that for the people who worked on it.
I do.
That's a lot of time.
It's a lot of time, but it's rough when you're doing a sequel because you're trying to be that person who says, "Oh my goodness, this is my dad, and he's a really great person," and then everybody expects you to live up to your dad.
Right?
Right?
Honestly, you know what it is? I think what it is that our generation of game developers, they don't got that dog in them.
Yo!
Now, hear me out. It's going to sound crazy, but...
Should we butter them up?
We should. Honestly, I think the previous... I don't know what it is, but the previous generation, they were workaholics, and somehow they made it work. That being said, I don't think we should, overwork our people, but, I do think we should be able to introduce, I would say healthier work environments.
Yeah.
But even in healthier work environments, you end up getting titles like Concord, where it's overly positive, and they'll understand, how could we fail? What went wrong?
You said what went wrong?
I kid you not. The main leader on the dev team, or the person who's in charge of that studio, he was genuinely confused about what went wrong. We had the nicest people. We had a great environment. It was very positive. Brother, man, sometimes too much positivity is toxic. Sometimes too much positivity is toxic. I'll say it one more time. Too much positivity is toxic.
If everybody agrees with everybody, you're just in an echo chamber.
Exactly.
And if you're in an echo chamber, there are no difference of ideas.
Right?
I think I would call it sniffing your own farts. I think someone turned the heater on, by the way.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah.
Who would do that?
Oh, no. Did Sed do that?
Probably.
Come on, Sed. Turning on the heater like that, making us think you're burning the place down.
I almost thought we're just gonna do a podcast in the fire. It's gonna be like that one meme with the dog.
This is fine.
This is fine. We are committed to doing a podcast for you, even in the fire.
Even in the fires, forged in the fires of Mount Doom, which, some of the best sequels of all time. Now, what happens when you do a sequel to the first banger series, and then you rush it? The Hobbit. If you look at the development on The Hobbit, rushed, canceled, changed directors. Like it's a miracle that a movie like Rogue One came out okay. A miracle.
And it should just stay as that. And I'm going to be so heartbroken if they make a sequel to Rogue One.
Oh my god, that would be. How could you make a sequel?
They call it Rogue 2.
The more Rogue.
Double the
I mean, but here's the thing. Like at some point, the series has to die. We talk about Fast and the Furious, which Faster and Furiouser, Fast 7, Crazy 8, Fast. It's like, bro, like, what do we just keep going forever?
Honestly,
because it makes
I feel
money.
like they should have stopped it whenever
Paul Walker.
Paul Walker passed.
Yeah.
I think that's when they should have ended it.
There's only so much family can do.
Right.
And I actually just don't watch Fast and Furious movies anymore. After the last one with Paul in it, I just didn't have an interest in it.
Yeah. I also think that Vin Diesel's talents are being wasted. Come on, man. You're better than
Give
family.
me another Riddick.
Exactly, right? I recently started watching the original, I forgot what it's called. Like, dang it, I'm blanking on the name. But I watched the original Riddick, and then I watched the sequel, and I started watching the third movie. And let me tell you, Riddick is so cool. Like, the world building is so cool.
The old Chronicles of Riddick. I think it had a game.
Yeah, it was dope. I mean, it's kind of odd because you went from like this horror movie in the first one to like a completely like fleshed out world with like different races, and you're explaining how Riddick is not like a normal person, how he's like some kind of prophesied dude, and all this other like crazy world building stuff, and how he's also on the run from people who are hunting him down. I'm like, dude, this is
You see, that's interesting, and it almost is like they had some cool vision,
right.
and they were like, I think we can actually tell this story now.
Yeah. No, honestly, if they had to, I would be fine if they decided to do like a reboot of the series, even make it like a TV series if they wanted to. Yeah. It could work.
It's just annoying because now, like with streaming, it's like 6 episodes. That's it, boys.
Like limited
40-minute episodes.
Yeah, the limited edition miniseries that Disney Plus loves to do for some reason.
Bro, listen, I just want to be able to hop on my couch on the weekend, have a bunch of snacks, and then watch from like 8 o'clock to like 8 p.m. that amount of worth of things. And I know it's terrible and you shouldn't do that, but that's the kind of like TV series I want to be invested in, and then be like, I actually binged watch something. Now I'm just kind of binge glancing.
Binge glancing. Put that on a t-shirt. Or not.
Put on a shirt.
Anyways, so what do you guys think? Should we maybe tone it back with the sequels, or are there like 100 sequels that you're like, well no, because like most good, I don't agree, but
Hey,
where
I'm just
are
saying,
we
every
at?
good thing must come to an end.
It should.
Just because you can you can splat something on a wall 100 times, just because you get it right twice, that 98 still is terrible.
What do they say? Broke clock is right twice a day.
Yeah.
Anyways, what do you guys think? I'm sure there's some movies that you're like, you guys totally missed this. This one was terrible. This one was great. What are you talking about? Jack 2 was amazing.
It was amazing.
Like there's some great sequels, right? But maybe we should kind of tone it back a little bit. 10%? Can we agree?
Just a
All
little
right.
bit.
Let me know. This is Atlas with Arcade Island.
Your boy Cash.
Your boy Crusader.
Peace.